A show that was announced as the direct sequel to Yellowstone no longer exists in the Yellowstone universe. Not canceled, not shelved, still running, still renewed, already confirmed for a third season, just not in the franchise everyone thought it was part of. When exactly did the Madison stop being a Yellowstone sequel? What did the cast think they were making while they were filming it? And why does this separation change everything fans assumed they understood about where the Yellowstone universe was heading? Let's break it down. Before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you considered subscribing. We cover every development across the Yellowstone franchise and the wider Sheridan universe the moment it happens, and what just became clearer about the Madison has been building since 2023. Okay, let's start at the very beginning, because the story of how the Madison stopped being a Yellowstone sequel is almost as interesting as the show itself. In May 2023, with Kevin Costner's departure from Yellowstone making headlines, Paramount announced that a present-day sequel to Yellowstone was in development. The working title was 2024. The idea was straightforward. Yellowstone had become the biggest show on cable. Instead of simply ending it, the plan was to continue the story in a new present-day chapter that would explore the Dutton family dynasty with new characters, new locations, and some familiar faces. Matthew McConaughey was in talks to star. His name was everywhere. This was supposed to be the show that carried the Yellowstone torch forward. A deal with McConaughey was never announced. The project continued developing without him. In August 2024, Pfeiffer was cast in the lead role. An Oscar-nominated actress at the center of what everyone still understood to be the Yellowstone sequel. By December 2024, the show had a title. The Madison, named for the Madison River Valley of central Montana. A new family. A new title, still described at that point as a Yellowstone sequel. That's the version of reality that existed when production began in Montana in 2025, and shifted to Texas late that same year. The cast showed up to work on a show they understood to be part of the Yellowstone universe. Patrick J. Adams, one of the show's core cast members, confirmed it in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. He said that even during filming, they expected a crossover with the Yellowstone world to happen. A crossover that never came. Then came February 2026. The trailer dropped, and Paramount announced alongside it that the Madison would be a standalone series, not connected to the Yellowstone franchise at all. For fans who had been following this show's development since 2023, that announcement landed differently depending on how closely they'd been paying attention. Some saw it coming. Others were genuinely blindsided. The show that was announced as the Yellowstone sequel, that was cast, produced, and filmed with that understanding, quietly exited the franchise before it had aired a single episode. Sheridan's own explanation was that the show he wrote simply got further and further away from Yellowstone as he developed it, until he considered it a standalone piece. That's a creative evolution, not a betrayal, but it's also the kind of thing that changes what fans are actually watching when they sit down with Pfeiffer and Kurt Russell in the Madison River Valley. They're not watching a Dutton story. They're watching a McIntosh family story. Different characters, different universe. Same Montana geography, same Sheridan aesthetic, same Paramount Plus home, but a completely separate fictional world. Here's what the Yellowstone franchise actually looks like right now, once the Madison is properly placed. According to the official franchise Wikipedia page, 5 shows make up the Yellowstone universe. Yellowstone itself, Marshals, and Dutton Ranch. That's the confirmed official list. The Madison is not on it. It belongs instead to what's been called the Sheridan-verse. A broader collection of Taylor Sheridan shows that share a creator, a production philosophy, and frequently a visual sensibility, but exist in separate fictional worlds. Mayor of Kingstown is in the Sheridan-verse. Tulsa King is in the Sheridan-verse. Lioness is in the Sheridan-verse. Landman is in the Sheridan-verse. And now the Madison. 6 distinct shows under one creative umbrella, none of them sharing a fictional universe with the Dutton family, each of them its own self-contained world. Here's the rehook, because the real impact of this separation isn't about the Madison itself. It's about what the Yellowstone franchise is now. 5 shows. A clear, defined boundary. And 2 of those 5 shows, Dutton Ranch and Marshals, just ended their first seasons with their main characters' sons kidnapped in the same state. With Dutton Ranch and Marshals being the only present-day Yellowstone shows, and with both shows now operating in a franchise that has a clean, confirmed roster, the crossover conversation isn't complicated by a third present-day show existing somewhere in the same Montana geography. The Madison is not going to intersect with Case Dutton. The McIntosh family is not going to cross paths with Beth and Rip. The franchise has 2 present-day shows and they're the only 2. Which means when Kelly Riley says go find our sons, she's describing a conversation between the only 2 active Yellowstone universe shows that actually exist right now. The Madison separation doesn't narrow the franchise. It clarifies it, and in clarifying it, it makes the Dutton Ranch and Marshals crossover conversation the single most important creative question in the franchise's immediate future. Now here's what the Madison is doing in its own right, because the separation from Yellowstone didn't hurt it. The show premiered on March 14, 2026, with the first 3 episodes, followed by the final 3 on March 21st. It was renewed for a second season before it even aired, back in August 2025. It was renewed for a third season on April 14, 2026. 3 seasons confirmed before most viewers had finished the first one. The show holds a 63% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes. Not a franchise triumph, but a show that's finding its own audience on its own terms under Sheridan's name, with 2 of the most recognizable actors in Hollywood at its center. Christina Alexandra Voros, who directed all 12 episodes of seasons 1 and 2, is the same director who helmed the Dutton Ranch season 1 finale. That's not a coincidence. That's a creator who trusts one of his key collaborators across both of his distinct universes. The Madison and Dutton Ranch exist in different fictional worlds, but they're made by the same hands. So here's where everything stands. The Yellowstone franchise is 5 shows. The Madison is a separate creative project under the same creator. The Sheridan-verse is a broader collection of all his work, spanning Michigan, Oklahoma, Texas, Montana, and beyond. And the only 2 present-day Yellowstone universe shows are currently both waiting to find their kidnapped sons in the same state. So tell me what you think. Does the Madison separation from Yellowstone clarify the franchise for you? Or does it feel like something fans were promised that got taken back? And does knowing the Madison won't intersect with the Duttons make the Dutton Ranch and Marshals crossover feel more inevitable? Drop your take in the comments. I want to hear how you read this separation. And if you want every update the moment either franchise shows season 2 news drops, go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate having you here for it. See you when the next piece of this story lands.